Hey guys, warm welcome here at Bavarian Demon. I would like to show you today how to connect a two serial receiver and distribution box system to a CORTEXpro wing gyro. As you can see, we have a setup right here with the central box 200 from Jetty as the servo distribution box. All servos in an existing plane are connected to that box running to the surfaces. And on the other side we see two serial receivers connected to the box just by using two patch cables as input into the receiver ports of the central box. So, how to connect the CORTEXpro into that system? Very easy. First thing we do is we simply take our receivers off the box, the distribution box. It could also be a power box system, an MCOTEX system, whatever system that features serial input and has two receivers connected. And now we connect our two receivers to the ports A and B of the CORTEXpro. Next step is to use two additional patch cables and connect them to the outputs 5 and 6 of the CORTEXpro, and on the other side, of course, to the two inputs of the central box. So that's the whole basic wiring to integrate a CORTEXpro into a serial receiver distribution box system. Especially for Jetty, we recommend to use an additional patch cable, which I will connect to the port 4 of the CORTEXpro, as well as to any available servo output on the distribution box, on the central box. The reason is that the outputs for the receivers, or better, the inputs for the receivers on the central box are not made for high currents, but only for two receivers. So now we integrate another system, the CORTEXpro, which is nothing that would be called a highly load consuming device, but it takes about 75 milliamps, and together with two receivers, depending on the receiver type, this could result in some trouble regarding the possible load on these ports. So please use an additional patch cable and get an additional power supply to the cortex and receiver section. So the first step in programming the CORTEXpro in this setup is to teach in the signal type from the receivers, as well as let the CORTEXpro know that we have two receivers connected, two serial inputs, and that the CORTEXpro should output two serial signals on ports 5 and 6. To teach the input type to the Cortex, we now power on the whole system. Radio is already turned on. Now the rest of the electronics, receivers, CORTEXpro and central box are turned on too. And while turned on, we plug the jumper into the programming port, which gives us a fast blue blink on the LED. After a few seconds, switching to a slow blue blink. And it's a slow double blink, which means two receivers detected, input type, two serial inputs, output type, two serial outputs, all programmed in the system just by this little procedure. We now power the system off again, and that's the whole input type teach-in sequence. Next we will teach the controls to the CORTEXpro. Make sure to have the jumper in place whilst the unit is turned off. So radio is turned on, we will now power the whole system with jumper in place, and this puts the CORTEXpro into programming mode. It will give us some indications by green LED blinks as well as servo bumps. We're waiting for the first double green blink and the servo to bump once. There we go. Aileron right and hold. Single blink, single bump, aileron left and hold. double bump again, elevator down, single bump, elevator up, double bump, rudder to the right, single bump, rudder to the left. And at the final double blink and double bump of the servo, we switched the gyro channel. I got it programmed on that switch right here on the top. Followed by a green flickering LED, which tells us that the unit has detected all the control inputs, all the directions, endpoints, functions, everything is teached into the unit just by this little procedure. So now unplug the jumper and we power the whole system off again. So this is all about the setup, dual serial I/O with the CORTEXpro, 2 serial receivers and a distribution box. If you have any questions, contact us through our webpage or get in touch through email. We're always here for you. I hope this video was helpful and I wish you a lot of fun with your CORTEXpro. Thanks and goodbye.